Hello and welcome to Beyond Business on CNBC-TV18. As the name suggests, we speak to CEOs, entrepreneurs, newsmakers about life beyond business. And we have with us Nikhil Kamath of Zerodha. Nikhil, thanks for joining us on the show.
Hi, Sonia. Welcome to Bangalore.
Thank you. Before anything, I must say that thank you for taking our jobs with this WTF podcast. It's done very well. But jokes aside, what made you think about this move?
Well, a lot of the content I watched online, I felt was not satisfying my innate curiosity. And as an investor, I spend a lot of time researching many of the subjects I'm doing a podcast on. So I thought while I'm researching a certain subject, makes sense to get 3 or 4 of the best guys for that subject over and discuss it together. And it's one night a month and it's for charity and it's a lot of fun. And these are my friends I hang out with anyway. And we also talk about the same things at home. So it's just like putting a camera in the room.
Okay, and it's working very well. I mean, congratulations, it's doing phenomenally well. It also brings us to the discussion about how you need to kind of reinvent yourself perhaps every decade or two as you do the same thing over and over again. Do you get the same feeling?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm bored of what I'm doing today, but I have been doing the same job for 19 years from when I've been 17. It's been repetitive from a schedule standpoint because I do market hours every day. But in terms of the way I look at the markets, in terms of how uncertain every day in the markets are, it is still very endearing, volatile. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. So I quite continue to enjoy that.
I feel your pain because I've been doing the same thing for the last 15 years as well, tracking markets day in and day out. And you feel this need
I've been watching you on TV throughout all those 15 years.
So you know what's been happening, right? But even behind the scenes, I mean, doing the same thing over and over again, sometimes you feel the need to kind of just break out of that mold. And you've been doing it in different ways, right? Not just with the podcast, you're also investing through Gruhas into different industries. You're doing a lot of philanthropy as well. So we'll talk about that one by one. But first with Gruhas, right? I mean, it's very interesting that there are different sectors and new age sectors that you're investing into, whether it is prop tech, whether it is fintech or even renewable energy. How did that thought come about?
Yeah, so Gruhas is a fund where we have partnered with a friend of mine called Abhijit Pai from Hyderabad. When we began, we had one thesis, which was construction and real estate has largely not changed. How we conceive of a home or an office today is much like how we thought about homes and offices 20, 30, 40 years ago. I've personally been overtly critical of real estate, which is still the largest asset class in the world by a wide margin, even above equity. I could not get myself to buy real estate at today's valuations because personally I think they are ridiculous and retarded. With interest rates where they are for prices of homes and offices to go up, doesn't make sense. So the second best way to get exposure to real estate was through investing in companies changing technology around real estate.
So you still live in a home that you don't own?
Yeah.
And you plan to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't foresee that changing. The only one home that I have is where my parents live, and that is more for emotional reasons. But the way I look at it, Sonia, is if I'm able to earn 10, 12% on money deployed, and I'm able to rent homes in India at 3%, if my budget for a home was, let's say, 10 rupees, and I can earn 12 rupees on that, if I can rent 3 or 4 apartments in that 12 rupees, it will never make sense for me to buy a home because the rental yield I'm dishing out is significantly lower than the capital deployed, the returns they give me.
So that is how somebody like me would think, right? Yeah. I mean, you have seen a stratospheric rise in what you were perhaps maybe 15 years ago to what your company and you are now. Has your relationship with money been the same all along or has it changed?
No, it hasn't. And This is something I take issue to in society today. There is a certain, I would say, a majority section of society trying to look and pretend to be more altruistic than they truly are. I think virtue signaling is a problem. We are where we are today because of capitalism. Along with all the flaws and the good points of capitalism, net capitalism has done as well as a society. In society today, let's say there are 3 sections. Section A is earning 100, Section B is earning 20, and Section C is earning 10. So I would say the combination is 130. What we have to focus on is, if not for capitalism, the 103, which was 50 10 years ago, for example, would have remained 50, and all 3 sections would have done badly. So talking about being rich or talking about winning at the very core, I don't think is a good thing. I don't think it's conducive for the economic growth of our country. I think we need to appreciate the benefactors, the beneficiaries of capitalism.
You know, I was going through one of your podcasts that you did with Mr. Biani. And in that, he said that as an entrepreneur, I mean, of course, he was talking about his own journey. As an entrepreneur, it's very important to figure out what your flaws are and then, you know, prevent them from becoming fatal, right? For him, of course, it led to a different path. But have you been able to figure out what your flaws are?
Yeah, and there are many. I think we're all flawed. We all have shadow personalities. Every single one of us. I'm including people who we look upon or who have conditioned us to look upon them as saints. We're all flawed. The more you kind of deny that you're flawed is probably going to make your flaws so much bigger, because it'll lie in the shadows and grow. So I have many flaws, and I'm very cognizant to them. And I think to a large extent, our flaws are a factor of our conditioning, our evolution, our childhood, even times when we don't have vivid memories of, let's say ages 3, 4, 5, up all the way up until 10, they play such a big part in defining what our shadow traits are today. So I have many from that. I think I'm insecure. I'm constantly looking for meaning in things where one is not meant to find meaning. I'm probably, I have some kind of abandonment issues. So I
was more asking about your flaws as an entrepreneur, but
yeah.
But I'll take what I get.
Yeah, I think
At least you're aware.
Yeah, I think this entire entrepreneurship thing is so overdone.
Everyone knows Nikhil Kamath, the trader, right? But not too many people know Nikhil Kamath, the investor. So I want to talk about that, both your personal as well as Gruhas. But first, we'll finish with Gruhas, and the investments that you're doing there. There's lots in renewable energy, in clean tech. A couple of your companies, I was reading about them in the battery space as well that you're investing into. Do you think this is the big theme for the next decade, or is it something that's played out already?
Well, I think energy transition is a big theme. So I joined the Gates Pledge recently, and we had a 1-week offsite in Atlanta in Georgia, and the other pledgees were there. So Gates is big on energy transition. I think he has an investment in as many as 5 of the 14, 15 companies working on fission.
Where else do you see opportunities? Because there's so much happening now in, say, drone manufacturing, in aerospace, in food tech, right? These are the buzzwords. But there's also simultaneously a funding winter. So a lot of these can be cash traps as well. Where do you see the next big opportunity?
So energy transition is one for sure. I think senior living is a big opportunity. I would say the third one is esports and gaming in India. The pace at which content consumption is happening on esports and gaming is growing significantly faster than movies, TV, old school content, for example. But I would say more from a productivity standpoint, I think India is very well situated to become a hub, like an export hub for senior living. We can do really affluent communities for senior living. And I think our service industry, the ethos are such that we would service these seniors significantly better than our European counterparts, for example.
So do you have any investments in that
Yeah,
space?
yeah. There are a couple. There's a company called Emoha. There's another one called Fasco in the UAE that we are looking at right now. It's still actually an industry in a very nascent stage in India. So we look for opportunities here, but nothing significantly of scale has come about. Even hospitals focused on the elderly might be an opportunity.
Okay. Also in fintech, right? I mean, you guys have a couple of investments there, but there's so much disruption happening. There's a large player entering now with JFS, Geo Financial Services. So this whole lending platform space is sort of going to get disrupted in a big way. How are you reading into all of that?
It's so funny. I'm from the sector, but everything I have been optimistic about in fintech has never worked out.
Like what?
Everything, like be it, if I say the theme, it also talks about the companies, and since I'm a part of them in one way or another, it would be a little pushing the envelope by saying it, but lending has made money for a couple of players. I would say early incumbents who garnered scale that in that way and had distribution. But everything new, Sonia, which has come around in the last 10 years, they've all had that bubble perception of how well they will do. But I would say rarely anyone has panned out to be what we thought they could be. I feel the addressable market for fintech in India, the story that is sold versus the story on the ground is so starkly different that in the manner that they sell it, it can never work out. People go around saying India's population is 1.5 billion and the number of demat accounts are 2%, 3%, 4%, whatever. And because of that, the scalable market is so big. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by looking at the ecosystem that way. The way we should look at the ecosystem is if 5 crore people in India file tax, I think that is India. Because I would assume before you buy a share, borrow money or do any of these things, you would need to have a tax return to be able to qualify for that. And people should look at the ecosystem like that. And I think India is not 140, 150 crore people, but it's the 5 crore taxpayers, 5, 6, 7, whatever the number is today, that you're actually building a product for. And if you look at the rate of change of the market where people are paying taxes, the rate of growth is not that much. And I think all efforts from the government, I think the government is doing an exceptional job in so many domains. But I think fixating upon the few taxpayers who are doing the right thing and trying to get more out of them might not be the solution, because I believe a larger section of society is actually due taxes but are able to evade it very easily. I say this openly so many times, but property taxes exist everywhere in the world. In most developed economies, America has them, UK has them. By virtue of how our economy is designed, a lot of the black money, the tax evaded money, finds its way into real estate very easily. So increasing property taxes significantly, I mean, it's a very fair tax in a way, because if you have a large parcel of land, you pay more tax. Inherently, most people's net worth or the amount of money they think they have is based on the property they own. So it would fairly tax people across different price brackets. If you have a small home, you don't pay anything. But things like property tax, inheritance tax, I think will go a long way in increasing that pool from 5 crore to maybe 10, 15, 20 crores. And that in turn is probably the environment which will allow for fintech companies to thrive, because right now there is no market.